are, so let's get the recording on. And yeah, fantastic welcome. Morning everyone. Glad you could join us this morning. We were just saying to Edward, who's joining us along with Kevin from the UK this morning, that some of us have a little bit of Zoom fatigue at the moment, but glad that we're on board. I see there comes Solomon as well, so fantastic to have everyone on board, and a slight change of gear this morning from what we've been doing in the last 4 days, I think. But it's going to be an interesting session. So I'm going to just hand over to Lee. Lee, over to you.
Welcome everybody. Good to have you all together. Welcome especially to Edward, new to Wisdom's Chats. So great to have him on board. So we're launching in today. Yesterday we spoke about what is it that we're expecting, or what is it that we're looking for from a leader. And I mean, leadership is an ongoing topic of, you know, what is a leader, who is a leader. But today we're actually going to look at what does it take to be a good follower. And because we always talk about leaders needing followers, or you don't lead unless you have followers. And whether you're a leader or not, or assign yourself leadership, a leadership role, there's always somebody, and I think this started because of the totem pole. You know, is there somebody who's slightly ahead, or is there somebody that you do follow in some form or another, whether that's in a team dynamic, or whether that's in a business or at home. So what does it take to be a good follower? And in my thinking around this, I realized that you do need to trust that person's vision. Yes, you need to trust the person, because I think if you don't trust the person, you don't really, you're always double guessing yourself and them, and it's a push and pull. So yes, you've got to trust the person, but I do think there is a danger in putting so much of yourself in that person that you almost put them on a pedestal, and you don't see them as a human being that has failings, that has doubts, that is also going to go through their own stuff, and isn't going to always be the nicest person to be with, or whatever the case may be. So I think you have to have a realistic trust. That's how I would say. I would put that trust, is that it's dependent on, you want them to be consistent and true to themselves, but acknowledging that they're a normal person like you. But you must trust their vision, because if you haven't bought into what they're trying to achieve, your contribution to that, you will start to doubt and start to wonder, what is the purpose? Where are we going with this? Because sometimes we, as followers, and that's why I say I think it depends on the vision, because sometimes you may not have the vision, but you see the possibility of it, and you see your contribution to it. So that's why I think it's important about the vision. And then I think the other thing I would just add into the equation as a follower is, we spoke about discernment. I think it's about questions. If you're able to ask questions, not questioning, it's not so much that you constantly digging in, because I think sometimes that can be frustrating for somebody who's got a vision and they actually can't prove that this vision is going to happen. So constant questioning can sometimes debilitate the leader. But to be able to ask good questions that ask, so what are the problems? How can we solve them? What are the issues we're going to be facing? This is what I'm experiencing, or I don't understand this. Can you explain it? So basically you're bringing in another set of thinking that the leader doesn't have access to. That's what a follower must be able to do, is to bring thinking, contribution, skills and abilities that the leader themselves don't have. So that's my idea around followership. And I think there's many other things, but those are the things that have come to mind. So that's just by way of launching us in and saying, what do you think it takes to be a good follower?
Great, thanks, Leah. Some good thoughts to get us kicked off this morning. So I'm going to go to a man who's had 20,000 people following him over some time and find out how he follows. So Jasper, let's get across to you.
When you started with your introduction, I was looking at Edward and Trevor and all the other people. Who's this person? So Leah was a great introduction. I think the thing I want to add to you again, just from context side, when you say who will make a great follower, or what characteristics am I looking for in a great follower, I think it's then, do you ask a populist politician, who would he like to have as followers? And then it would be blind loyalty, people who can't think for themselves, who believe every promise, who don't question, don't even think is it realistic or not realistic. So that would then be his definition. Whereas if you ask us, let's say from a chamber perspective, who would we like to have as, instead of followers, I would say members. I would say we're looking for a mature kind of person who has walked the walk, who has realized that he can't go any further on his own, and he values the collaboration of a large group where all the skills are in one place, but he's not expecting anyone to do it for him. He's going to use the tools and the resources around him and go ahead and do it. But if he gets stuck, he knows where to come for help. So I think that's probably the contribution I want to make, just to add to your introduction, is to say from whose perspective, because we have far too many of this first kind of followers, blind, loyal to a fault, but to their own detriment, can't think for themselves, can't see the wood from the trees. And if anything, that's on my goals to do for the rest of my life, is to help educate people to say, listen, apart from being the leader in your household, be very careful to be a follower unless you can collaborate with people, and only collaborate with people who share your vision and your goals of going forward, because the rest of the people are playing games with you and they're not doing it for a long term. So that's my input.
Great, thanks, Jasper. Yeah, so it raises the question in my mind, does one need to be a good leader to be a good follower, or a good follower to be a good leader? So that brings up some interesting thoughts there, and I think the maturity aspect that you brought in there, someone who is a mature leader can probably be an excellent follower at the same time. So yeah, some great thoughts there. So Mpolelo, I see you nodding sagely there. Let's get into some of your wisdom.
Yeah, good morning again. It's interesting to speak about followers. We always have demands on leaders and so forth. But yes, there are demands on followers as well. Look, for me, just to link it a little bit to what Lee started out with, is that, yes, a follower has to buy into the vision, right? But in buying into vision, a good follower is one who understands that because of the value system, not all their needs and their wants and their feelings will be met. Right? And that's what a value system does. A value system says, this is what we will do in spite of how you feel, in spite of what you think is the direction you need to take. This is what we have agreed on. And I think that's what a good follower does, that yes, he has certain expectations, but also understand that not all of them will be met, and that it also takes their own effort to meet some of what they need within the bigger picture of the vision and the value system that's being put in place. Interestingly, though, when we spoke about this yesterday, the first two words that came into my mind were quite negative words, and was the word complaining and impatience, right? And it said to me, good followers are not complainers, and they are not impatient as well. I see that we do sometimes do that. Sorry to make this example. our current president had only come in for a year, and we were already complaining about the economy. We were already complaining about all kinds of things. And it's like we were expecting 9 years of difficulty to be sorted out in a year. So for me, the two biggest words, and I think because as South Africans, we do that a lot, complaining as well as being impatient does not make for a good follower, especially if the vision is set and it does look like things are going a good direction. That's me.
Great, thanks, Mpumelelo. Yeah, I think you pick up on some very key points there. You know, and if you flip that around to, as you say, you know, not be complaining and negative about it, but find positive ways to contribute to make the system really work. So yeah, absolutely agree with that one. Paul, let's get across to you.
Can you come back to me, Ivan? Let me just wake up a little bit.
Okay, get your cup of preferred stimulants for this morning. Yeah, all right, we'll get back to you now. Nazipa, are you awake? There she goes. Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I think I agree with both Mpumelelo and Lee that the followers have to buy into the vision of the leader. For me, what is also equally important is that the follower also needs to be, their value systems must be aligned to the value systems of a leader for them to be able to follow that person, because it's not just buying into the vision, it's also respecting the vision and understanding where they fit into this greater vision of whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. And whilst I'm not for followers that are your yes ma'am followers, I'm equally not for followers that are going to be questioning and challenging me at every turn. And yes, I have no issues with people needing clarity and people needing guidance or anything that they want to get into. But my question, my issue becomes when my vision becomes questioned. Because I think if you are not in agreement with my vision, or if you question the vision of your leader, then maybe you shouldn't be following that person if you are not aligned to their values or their vision. That's as far as I'll go. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nazipa. Appreciate that input. Right, let's go across to our newbie this morning, Edward. I think you've got the gist of how we do things here this morning. So love to hear your thoughts on the topic, and yeah, maybe just tell us who you are a little bit and where you're coming from, and so we can get to know you a little bit better as well.
Yeah, I well, as you know, I'm from the UK. I'm a runner. I'm a mad sort of South African fan. And I was thinking about the whole leadership thing and thinking, well, I'm not a follower. I'm a bit of a maverick. I don't like joining things. But then I suddenly thought of a couple of situations where I was the follower. And I think it is because of that thing about a vision that you can follow. And one of them was a guy called Estienne Arndt, who's a South African, who put on a race called the Addo Trail Run. And he had a problem one time with it and said, and at first I met him, said to me, can you come and help me? And I put myself totally in his hands because I trusted his vision, I trusted his capabilities. So I think that trust in them and the belief in the vision. But also the other one I was thinking about was when I visited my daughter in Singapore, I allowed her to be the leader because I know that we have the same values, we like the same things. And she was the expert in that situation because she lives in Singapore, I don't. So I knew if I put myself in her hands and followed her, I would have a good experience. So I think that shared values is the very important thing, I think, if you want to be a participating follower rather than just a follower that just doesn't think. So I think it's that trust in the other person's abilities, buying into their vision, but also those shared values. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Edward. And I think it's key. Yeah, you know, one often thinks of leaders as people who are out there doing big things and big stuff. But I mean, your example of your daughter is an absolute perfect, caveat to that. You know, we don't necessarily have to be these figureheads to be leaders. We can be just somebody, just leading somebody else, and it's just a very simple situation and buying into that. So yeah, I think that's also a great example of how leadership can morph and switch between roles. I mean, as you as her father would have been a leader for many years, and you've allowed that role to actually switch around in a given situation where she has the knowledge, which I think is a great example. So Solomon, are you with us?
Yes, good morning.
Morning.
So the whole thing of us becoming followers, I really believe that Lee, we need to go beyond buying into the vision. It's great to buy in the vision and as a follower and tell yourself this is good, etc., etc. So it's actually good. But at the same time, I still feel that you need to ask yourself, how do you fit in there? Because you can buy in the vision and not participate because you don't see how you fit in yourself as a follower. And then you might find yourself not being able to really contribute because you don't see yourself how you fit in there. So that's that one point. And then the other point is what we call ownership mentality. Whenever somebody has got a vision and you are no more using the word I, and you start to use the word we, then we know that you already started to own, the vision. Because now at that time, you start to say to others, this is what we are all about. This is all that we are trying to do. This is where we are all going, you know. So I really believe that as soon as you also have got that ownership mentality, then you become an asset to contribute into whatever endeavor that is before you, to become a great follower. All right. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Solomon. And yeah, I think you picked on a perfect example there for us, because we love the people who come along and say, how are we going to do this? How can we get together, and instead of how are you going to make it happen, or how am I going to make it happen? I love that. I love that example that you've given there. So well done on that. Cecile, are you with us this morning? Or are you multitasking as usual and just listening in the background?
No. Can I just finish this WhatsApp conversation? I will be with you in a minute.
Okay, all right, Cecile, our multitasking doer on the group here. So Kevin, let's get across to you while Cecile finishes off there.
Good morning, everyone. Before we started this morning, I really had two words on the tip of my tongue, which were trust and belief. Obviously, Lee said everything there is to say about trust really in her introduction. I think Edward touched on belief. It's important to believe in your leader. Also, another good one would be learning. You need to learn from your leader to be a good follower and follow the example of your leader. I mean, I've got in the business at the moment. If I give an example, my mentor in the business at the moment, I've known her for many years. I trust her implicitly, and have the same belief as she has. We know where we're going with the business. And I had a conversation yesterday where on Facebook, and the word came up that I was following her, going all the way with her, holding on to her coattails. I was literally, following the lead, as simple as that. And that's the relationship we've got. So there's a good leader-follower relationship there between us. So I think that's a good example. That's how I'd read into it anyway.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, and it brings up an interesting point. Generally the topics, the points that are being made here are about formal leaders, and one, thinks or formal followers or formal leaders. One thinks about the whole social media aspect and people who people follow, and are these actually true leaders, and are they good followers? Or once again, has the word actually been morphed to mean something completely else? So yeah, I think it raises an interesting question in my mind, at least. Umpo, has that caffeine kicked in? Are you ready to go?
I'm not even drinking proper coffee, Ivan. I've just discovered this morning. So this is like re-coffee. Yeah, so interesting topic. And it's actually one that I've been grappling with lately. And I'm seeing Lee's comment that says, how do you follow a leader you didn't choose, i.e. in government or in business? And I think we do that by holding them accountable as followers. And that becomes our responsibility to shape the leadership. But I think one of the things that I'm learning about being a follower or having followers is the importance of empowerment. So empowering people to make informed decisions for themselves. I think there's too much of a culture of dependence. So, I've pledged my loyalty, and now you do everything. It's all up to you. So I think this is something that we have to, especially as a country. I've been seeing in the past couple of weeks in both the work that I do in product development and in small business, is that most people don't really know what's possible. They've never been shaped or exposed to that concept of what is possible. So their world is limited to a very small universe. And that then produces a certain quality of a follower. But you add the element of empowerment for people to really make informed decisions, then you transform the quality of a follower. That's my contribution.
Great, thanks, Umpo. And I think that's again some great points there. As you were talking about empowerment, the word that also came into my mind that often you see with followers a sense of entitlement. So and to actually have the leader provide that input that removes the entitlement and provides the empowerment, I think is absolutely key. But again, the responsibility of the follower to actually take that up and run with that opportunity and that growth path that they've been offered. So yeah, love that. Thanks very much. Cecile, all right, it looks like you're with us.
Hi, hi guys. I was thinking when everyone was talking about following, it's been years that I haven't had someone in business telling me or showing me what to do, that I've just had to find my own path. But when we were talking about following, and especially when Edward was talking about following, it just came to mind that when I first started doing squash refereeing, you get into it and you think that you know what you're doing, and then you start following the top people and you start seeing what is the way that they're doing things, and why are they successful. Because you can keep on doing the way that you want to do it, and then you wonder, why are you not successful? So I did that for many years, probably 8-9 years. I did that, and then in the other thing that I discovered in this lockdown, that I've done karate for 5-6 years, and although I have a black belt, I now started looking at someone else, another lady that's the sensei, and I started following her 3 times a week and following her, what she's doing. And interesting how what a change you can have over a period of 3 months if you consistently follow exactly what another expert is doing. My husband says, well, he can't believe the difference in and just technique from following someone that knows, well, I'm not saying that my sensei doesn't, but following someone that that does things differently. So I've learned to become a follower there as well. But in business, I'm kind of just forging ahead, doing my own thing. Yep.
Great, thanks, Cecile. Yes, Simple.
I have a woman crush on Cecile.
She's an amazing lady, isn't she? I mean, you know, without embarrassing her, because I know she doesn't mind. You know, when you take up karate at the age of 55 and you're a black belt by the time you're 60, that's absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, kudos. Absolutely, hats off to Cecile. Right, Trevor, over to you.
Me too. I've got a woman crush on Cecile too. Okay, I think she just blew me a kiss, or did she throw the tongue out at me there? We'll have to go back and check what happened. Geez, this blooming topic has discombobulated me. Can you spell that? Followers and leaders. So I've been a couple of these things, having driven a couple of community initiatives that were in desperate need of leadership. And all I can turn around and say is, perhaps I'm not a very good follower. I actually sit back and watch what people perhaps are not doing. And where there's a requirement for a solution or some action to be taken, I will just step up to the plate and turn around and say, okay, let's get this done. This is how it gets done. And all of a sudden you find there are people who turn around and say, oh, thank goodness, someone's come up with some sort of direction. Let's get behind this guy and let's go. But very quickly, those followers all have their own ideas. And so that I've found in projects, for instance, in that Lone Hill Community Project with over 6,000 odd households that were completely lost, the people that never ever stepped up and then came behind someone that did have the chutzpah to actually stand up, very quickly turned around and said, okay, well, now we know the way to go. Now this is a smart way to go. And that's when I step back and get behind those individuals and say, okay, now you know where to go. You want to be a leader? I'll step back behind you and I'll help you for a while. And within 3 years, I stepped back out of that community initiative. And that community initiative has been running now for over 20 odd years. Over R1 billion has flown or flowed into that particular infrastructure where it was a completely bankrupt community before. But this word followers, I think it is wrong. I think when I hear this word followers, I see Pied Piper of Hamelin and all those little gerbils or whatever they were, hamsters running over the cliff. And I think that relates very much to political leadership, especially in this country. And sadly, look, it's around the world, as you can see. And I think you can see what's happening in the States at the moment as well. I think people who blindly follow individuals are, and you use the word entitlement, Ivan. I think people blindly follow because they think they're going to get a kickback somewhere in the system if they follow through. And if systems are corrupt, which there are in political systems all around the world, people see just how much reward these political leaders get, and they say, you know what, I must get onto that totem pole, because if I follow there and we knock the guy off the top, maybe I can get to the top and then I can get my hands in the cookie jar. So those type of followers I'm not interested in. And so politics for me is absolutely useless. And in the comment, I was starting to think, are we really talking followers or are we talking supporters? And then as Mpho was talking, something suddenly came into my head that maybe what leaders really want are raving fans. Because in the context of this internet society, maybe Facebook just points us in the wrong direction, that you've got these followers and they tend to make you an influencer. That's a whole load of rubbish. But it's about scale and numbers. And instead, I think the people that are successful in global terms on the internet are those that develop raving fans. I'm a raving fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, but I don't follow him every day, every second, whatever. I studied him for a while, and now every now and then I dip in just to see, is he consistent? Is he going where he is? Yes, I like the direction that he's going, but I'm a raving fan of certain directions that he's going. Now, listen, that's a lot of talking for wisdoms, but that's because I've been talking for 4 days.
Yeah. Okay, Trev, thanks. Yeah, I think, who's that? Solomon, you got your hand up. Yep.
Yeah, I think I wanted to make a comment there, Trevor. I do feel that all of us need to actually learn how to follow, not for the leader, but for ourselves as well. When you've got bad leadership in front of you and you actually are a follower, there's so many attributes that you don't have that you could acquire because of that bad leadership. So yeah, I still think we need to learn to follow, even if we've got bad leadership in front of us. If you are impatient, when you've got a bad leader, then you actually acquire that patience attribute that you might not have. So I think for ourselves, indeed, we do need to learn to follow despite of the situations that are in front of us. I'm just laughing at that.
Thanks, Solomon. I'm absolutely loving what you're saying, and please keep on Trevor's case. You've got to turn him into a follower. I'm tired of following him. He must now start following me for a change. So, okay. All right, folks, we've hit the bottom of the hour. In fact, we've just gone past it. So once again, a fantastic conversation. So I'm going to pop across to Lee to wrap us up for the morning and suggest the topic for tomorrow. So Lee, over to you.
Yes, so Solomon is going to tell his story, but not tomorrow. He's going to tell his story on Thursday. So that'll be, we look forward to that. And Solomon, we've had a series now of part 1, part 2. So we'll even hold over Friday for you, just in case, just saying. So don't worry if your story takes more than the half an hour. But for tomorrow, just following through from the conversation today, I wonder if we can't talk about the difference between trust and loyalty. And just what does it mean to trust somebody? Is there a difference? And so that's let's just go a little bit around that topic. I'll think about it some. That's where my head's going at the moment.
Great, thanks, Lee. So I trust you've enjoyed the morning with us this morning, and you'll be loyal and you'll come back tomorrow, and we'll take it forward from there. So fantastic day further, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining us, Edward. Appreciate you being with us this morning as your first time, and hope you've enjoyed it.
Thanks very much.
Good. Cheers, everyone. See you tomorrow.